Greetings duelists and welcome to another video. So as most people already know, the 2023 megatins for this year are going to be arriving to the general masses very soon. And one particular thing that happened with these megatins as opposed to like the past ones is Konami decided to like print TCG exclusive cards for supporting previous TCG exclusive themes we've had in the past, and one of them was SPYRAL. So for those who are unfamiliar, SPYRAL was an archetype that debuted in 2016. It was released in a set called The Dark Illusion. That set pretty much was not really heavily like in good contentions. However, it had a lot of really strong cards like SPYRAL Quick Fix and SPYRAL Resort. Back then, Link monsters were still not around, so there was no real way for us to utilize these cards like super efficiently. Basically, the deck revolved around you trying to use Super Agent as much as possible, as well as other cards that are similar to Super Agent and they're supporting archetype, like they're supporting like teammates. So later on 2017, which was around the time Link monsters got introduced to the game, Konami decided to print SPYRAL Double Helix, and then immediately upon this card's release, this deck became a top tier contender. Basically, it was a really strong combo deck that just enabled a lot of plays, and before Link monsters, there was no real way to like fully utilize the combo potential behind these cards. But then with the release of Double Helix, then the deck just became very absurd because Link spamming and Link summoning was very like crucial. And then Konami started like picking apart the deck because they just found it way too powerful. And then later on 2020, we've got the release of a card that pretty much just broke the archetype entirely, and it warranted the banning of like one of their key monsters, being SPYRAL Master Plan. Right now, at the present in 2023, SPYRALs are pretty much at full power except for Master Plan. Master Plan is still on the forbidden list. But outside of that, everything else in the archetype is like fully functional. However, without Master Plan, like the deck is a lot more fragile and the ceiling of the deck is a lot lower than those apart from other combo decks that we have in the format. In Master Duel, Master Plan is available. However, the problem with Master Duel is that it's a best of one, and the Maxi is present in the format, with those two being key factors, as well as Tier Elements was being like a very strong deck, as well as other outliers out there. They just had a stronger ceiling. SPYRAL just kind of fell short. So now let's talk about the new contender in the archetype. This is SPYRAL Double Agent. So for those who don't know, this card got debuted right now in the 2023 Megatins, and the card reads: if you have a SPYRAL card on your field or in your graveyard, you can special summon this card to your opponent's field in defense position. But it cannot be tributed, nor it can be used as a material for a Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, or Link summon. Then both players reveal the top card from their deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. All SPYRAL monsters on the field gain 500 attack. Also, SPYRAL Super Agent on the field can attack directly. So The idea behind this card is pretty much giving double helix or double agent rather, or a super agent, the best form of utility for its win condition. When Konami released the first wave of sport, they pretty much tried to make it so SPYRAL Super Agent was the outlier and like tried and be the potential game winner. Like to finish off the duel, like just on itself as merited alone. That's why you have Double Helix treating itself as Super Agent and having it use like a myriad of effects like reborning or just summoning from the deck a Spiral monster. So there are two things this card does for the archetype. One, it makes it so it reveals a monster. It reveals a card from the opponent's deck, meaning that you can just freely summon Super Agent as another extender, and you can proc Double Helix's effect like very comfortably. The other thing that Double Agent does is that it makes it so now Super Agent becomes a win condition in this deck if you go second. So with the effect of Spiral Your Drone, like giving it 500 extra attack, the Double Agent giving it extra 500 attack, and just having like other like arsenal cards like the Spiral Gears and whatnot, pretty much makes it so your win condition is now attacking with Super Agent or Double Helix, like directly and punching your opponent for a lot of damage. There are two problems with this strategy, like that I can see at first glance. The first problem that we're encountering is this is not a turn one strategy, meaning that like pretty much you're forcing yourself to go second if you want to use Double Agent's effects entirely, like at a full function. The other problem that we have here is that Spiral Double Agent is not a real extender. Like you cannot use it as a material. You're giving it to your opponent's side. And outside of just revealing the top card from your deck, you're not really plussing out of the effect of this card. One final issue that I have, and if this was not the case, I would have said that this card was extremely broken, or it was really, really strong. Both summoning it and revealing from the top of the deck is both tied to the same effect. It's not like an effect that happens upon being summoned, or it's not an effect that happens like at a different sequence. That detail is very, very, very important, and the reason why that detail is important is because if that part of the line of text was not there, this card would have been incredibly strong because of the existence of triple tactic talents and triple tactic thrust. If you went first and you summoned this to your opponent's side of the field, and revealing from the top of the deck was a separate effect upon it being summoned, that means that it was technically an opponent's monster that was activated, meaning that you could use both talents and thrust like from turn 0 and just use it effectively. You can still do those things if your opponent activates like any form of disruption on turn 0, be it like a random Ash Blossom or like or Droll and Loudbird, or just like any other utility card that you might see on like the first turn as part of an interruption. But outside of that, those cards are not ideal if you're summoning Double Agent. There are some plus sides to this. For starters, like this monster cannot be used as a material at all, and is occupying a zone. So against decks like Kashtira, for example, this card can be problematic because it is a monster your opponent cannot get rid of. that just sticks into the board. Another cool thing about this card is that just giving you the knowledge of your opponent's deck, like from the activation of this card, is kind of neat and crucial, because not only are you getting a guaranteed effect for double helix and super agent, but now you kind of have an idea of your opponent's deck if you go first before you do any other plays. And that is also very, very strong, because it sometimes just knowing what deck your opponent is on or what cards are your opponent playing makes it so you can choose your decision trees for your combos or your strategy. Another cool thing about double agent is that it makes it so your opponent cannot activate infinite impermanence. They can activate Siphon Gear Gamma. Well, they can activate Gamma and chain to this effect, you activating it, but I mean that means you're forcing out the Gamma for a card that might not be guaranteed and to be an extender. So just for stuff like that, this card does fit a merit to be played in this deck. But outside of that, I don't think this card is something that this deck needed, like outright. Like, it's a very neat card that gives an identity to this deck, but in order for spirals to like succeed in the TCG, you're just going to have to give them another really strong extender like Spiral Master Plan. As of right now, this deck is kind of consistent, but the cards that they utilize don't have a high enough like ceiling to contest against like other decks of the format. If that were the case, then this deck would have been really, really strong, because for example, Spiral Resort is a really dumb card this format, just for the merit of it like giving you targeting protection. Right now we're in a format where targeting is very, very, very important. Like, we have like Book of Moon, Imperm, like being staples in many decks. You have decks like Rescue Ace, Unchained, and Kashtira being like three very prominent decks in the format, and those decks all revolve around targeting cards. So yeah, like, I think spirals are very, very close to like being in top tier contender. They just are like one or two cards away for it to be like really, really, really powerful and be like a very potential threat. However, double agent just missed the mark, like on my book. It's very, very soon to tell, but I think that unless we get something back like Master Plan, and I'm not gonna ramble on this and just repeat myself. I think this deck still needs a lot of work, but the fact that Konami still are printing cards for this archetype kind of tells you that these archetypes are not forgotten, and maybe sooner or later we might see something else done with them. But yeah, that's pretty much like it from me. I hope you found this video informative. Stay tuned for more like content like this in the future. Keep practicing and keep dueling.